In the AAR studio today, and really it's a different one. I got asked by a certain person from a certain format forum that we actually deal with that he'd like to come out and ask me a few questions. At first I thought it was from the police or something like that, so I was a little bit worried, but then it turned out it was Gordon from the Airgun factory. And his idea was to come and have a chat with me, talk to his members on the forum and the people who get involved, get them to put some questions together and come and ask me all those personal details. Well, here we are, so let's see how we go. And good morning, Gordon.
Morning, Andy. How you doing?
I'm all right, thank you very much indeed.
First off, thank you very, very much for having me.
More than welcome.
It's been absolutely fabulous so far. I've been here a couple of hours, guys, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
More than welcome. I mean, it's probably an eye-opener for you to see exactly what behind the scenes looks like.
It's amazing. Trust me, guys, it is amazing. Right, I've got a load of questions here, Andy, from the members of Airgun Factory and from AAR's forum.
Right.
I've got my first question. This is my question. Bolt or side lever? Please say bolt.
It is bolt. Yeah, it would be bolt. The thing is, I try so many guns all the time, and you find you get used to using whatever they are. If you were to ask me, yeah, the side levers are super smooth, they're nice to use, and it's really nice sometimes when you can choose to use them right or left-handed, because some people like to just keep the fingers on the triggers or around the trigger area, and a side lever makes that nice and easy. Some people even like the underhanded approach, if you like, but I don't know, it's probably something of the sniper in me somewhere along the lines.
That's
yeah,
with me.
And I like a nice, smooth bolt action. So yeah,
I love the sound of a bolt.
Yeah, it's just something about it. I mean, I suppose you're dreaming that you've got a 50 cal or something like that.
Exactly.
So it's not quite the same in a 177. But yeah, it's nice to have that bolt action, that back to basics thing, which might be something worth remembering for some time next year. But I'm not saying anything else about that.
Right. Keep your eyes peeled, guys. Yeah. Another question of mine, this is the last question of mine. If you could only own one gun,
right,
which one would it be?
That is probably the hardest question you could ever ask anybody. It's a little bit in a certain way of like saying, which one of your children do you prefer?
Yeah.
You know, I've got 3 daughters and I love them all equally, and they're all very different. And the guns, I've lost count how many guns, don't even ask me to tell you how many, because Mrs. AAR will then find out. Without a doubt, it's got to be heading towards the R10. The only issue with that is the R12 is out, and I absolutely adore that R12. Do I have one yet? No. Note I said yet. And the other thing I really, really like, and I think they did such a cracking job, was on the CLX, the 160 that they brought out on the limited edition runs. I think it's a lovely little gun.
Yeah.
A lot of people are now going to turn and say, oh, you're paid by BSA. I'm not paid by anybody. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it 1,000 times more, and people still won't believe me. But the point is, it would be my R10 as it stands, because it's always been super, super accurate. And every time if I'm shooting something and I'm shooting a gun, I think I can't hit a barn door, or I can't find a barn door big enough to hit with this particular gun, I will always go and get my R10 out and shoot that, because I know it's consistent. I know the gun, it knows me. It's always pellet on pellet. It probably helps the fact that it's an FAC.
Yeah. And
it's kicking out around about 18 foot-pounds, which is probably another thing you're going to ask me a little bit later.
Yeah.
But it is a lovely piece of kit, and it's super, super accurate, and it would probably be the last gun I would ever give up, if that answers your question.
Thank you, Andy. I've got some questions on here from some of the guys. Got one here from Alistair Cameron. Why did you never review the BSA Defiance, or was it never worth broadcasting?
It's probably because I've never done it yet. As simple as that. I haven't actually had one in my hands to do. And I know that I normally say there's two reasons why I won't have reviewed a gun or you won't see it. It's either A, it was absolute garbage and I won't put it out, or B, I just haven't done it yet.
Wow.
And that comes in the latter category. I just haven't done it yet. I try to do as many as I can. There's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, well, actually being here, and honestly guys, being here and seeing the setup, if you think this is easy, trust me, it is mind-blowing. All the equipment here is mind-blowing. So, Gary says, do you feel the new multi-platform interchangeable guns being released currently are taking away the skill and joy of mastering the craft and progression within the sport? Almost every range and club are being saturated with money's no object brigade.
I suppose the thing on this one is to realise that there is an industry behind all of this. And if you imagine yourselves being a manufacturer of a gun, and it's a fast, ever-changing world. People want it, and they want it now, and they want what they want, how they want it, and if it isn't, they're off somewhere else. So manufacturers have got to be constantly on the edge of getting the right products out to the people that they want. And tomorrow, stay awake, boys, because it's all going to change. I want something else. You know, it's got to be, it's customer driven. People, I mean, there was a day, Ford, they can have whatever colour they like as long as it's black.
Yeah.
And the manufacturers had the upper hand. Nowadays, the consumer very much has the upper hand. So if he wants a tactical gun, he wants it, and he wants it now. But tomorrow he may want a traditional style gun. Now, a manufacturer cannot just do this all the time. So a lot of the time what they will do is they will have a chassis of a gun that is adaptable, and they can add, change, interchange to meet the ever-changing needs of the customer. So I look at it from a point of view of the manufacturers, who I do deal fairly closely with, and they've got a hell of a job to try and keep up with demand and what the customer wants. So the easiest thing to do is to have a platform that they can interchange. The prime example, I suppose, would be Air Arms, the S510. So it's a fabulous gun. It's been around since Adam was a lad, and I can see why. It works really, really well. But people want something else, and they want the tactical one. So they've got to bring out the S510 Tactical.
Yeah.
It's an S510. Everything is an S510, but they've changed all the bits and things around it to satisfy the wants and needs of the consumer. So do I think that they're wrong in that? I think that whether I think they're right or wrong is irrelevant. I don't think they've got any other choice, because the amount of research and development that would have to go into some of these guns would be immense. And then people would turn around and complain just how expensive these guns are.
Yeah.
I suppose in answer to your question as well, as far as everybody's down the range and they've got to have the latest top trumps gun, you're always going to get all the gear and no idea, boys.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've said so many times, and I actually met somebody when one day I was down at Vector Air trying to raid their shelves for something to review. A guy came in and he bought Gammo GX40 kit, which I put together with Vector Air as well. We worked closely together to make sure it was a good kit. And I said to him, I would love to go down the shooting range with one of these, with the boys with the big guns that name big names, or I won't name, down at a shooting range and just sit on the end and put pellet on pellet on pellet, while these boys had spent £2,500 on the latest gun just looked as if, say, what the heck is he shooting? And he's shooting a 500 quid package gun. And to be honest, I love that. If somebody wants to spend £2,500 on a gun, that's absolutely fine. The Vulcan 3 from the AGT, it is so easy to shoot. And if you don't believe me, just go and watch the review that I did on it. I shouted Mrs. AAR down to the paddock while she was cooking the tea. I said, just come and shoot this. And she literally picked it up and she was smoking paintballs down the range every single time, never missed. It is so easy to shoot. So yes, I can see why people would spend that. Is it making them a better shooter? To be honest, you could probably put a trained monkey on it, and it would hit just as easily and just as accurate. But yes, I see why they do it. There are some guns out there that are really, really good and still budget, and I really enjoy shooting some of those. But the bottom line is the manufacturer is being led by the consumer. So if anybody's got a complaint and you are a consumer, it's your fault.
Well, going back to what you just said, Andy, I'll get quite a few private messages on the group from newbies, and they say, "Oh, should I buy this scope at £700? Should I buy this gun at £800?" I said, "No. A lot of these guns are great. The Venaris, the Gamos. I mean, even like your Storm Riders. It's the person behind the trigger."
Oh yeah. Yeah, without a doubt.
And they think they can just go out and buy accuracy. I mean, a lot, 99% of them are just, saying, "Do you think?" And then they're in no way being, "Look at me, and I've got money," etc. I just worry about the mindset that people are thinking, well, if I go out and buy a £2,000 gun, an £800 scope, I'm going to be the best guy on the range.
Not necessarily.
See, and that's what I try to get across.
And the one thing that I would really hoax, the good thing that I do in the channel, I'm able to get hold of all of these guns, some really expensive guns, some cheaper guns. And if I put 3 reviews out on cheap guns, I get accused of all you're ever doing is cheap guns. And if I put 3 expensive gun reviews out, I would get accused of...
You just can't win.
So, no, you can't, and I realise that, and my shoulders are broad enough. So you're trying intermix them a bit, so you just don't get that, but you get it anyway. But my one point is, if you can afford £2.5 for a gun and £1,000 for a scope, and that's what you want to do, go and do it. Yeah. And you will really enjoy it, and you'll be proud that you've got something. And if you can't afford that, don't be the kind of guy who's going to go and sell the kids to go and buy one of these and fall out with the missus and everything else.
Exactly, yeah.
Because there are some really good budget guns out there that you'll get so much pleasure from. And it's horses for courses. Some people have got a lot of money, and let them spend it. And it's a good job they do, because there's companies providing these things. But there's also people who've got very little money, and you can still get into the sport, and you can get into the sport and thoroughly enjoy it.
Exactly.
Thoroughly enjoy it.
I mean, there's some lovely springers out there to start off with.
Yeah, I'm rubbish with springers, and I've never claimed to say I was any good.
I did shoot a beautiful TX the other day, and it was fantastic. But I can't shoot standing up, Andy.
No,
never could.
No,
I always do a figure of 8. But I think what Andy's saying, don't skin yourself. Just work within your budget, and there are some fantastic guns for 150, 200 quid,
There really are. I mean, somebody left a comment the other day, and I think I actually put it out on a video when we were in Germany. And that is, have you ever tried an $18 scope? It's about time you should try it and come back and then tell us what you think. And the answer to that question is, yes, I have tried an $18 scope, and it wasn't worth $18. They are rubbish. You're getting what you pay for. But if all you want to do is to go on the back garden with the family, have a bit of a plink and a bit of a shoot, and all you can afford is an $18 scope, then it's fine.
Exactly.
But if you're then going to complain that it's not the same as a Continental, a Vector Continental, come on, be a realist.
Yeah.
And not everybody can afford a Vector Continental, but that's like watching a widescreen TV as opposed to an old black and white box.
Yeah.
But at least you're being entertained with the black and white box.
Exactly. Some people say, oh, it's a lot of money shooting. It really doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't.
For one, you've got springers and you've got open sights, and that's going to hone your skills anyway.
Yes.
But please don't think it's a rich man's sport, because it isn't in any way.
No. It's an everyman sport. It is a rich man's sport if they want to spend that kind of money.
That kind of money, exactly.
But if you can't afford it, there are guns. I think there's one lying around somewhere. The Diana range at the minute, or the Stingers and things like that. They're coming in at about 180 odd quid. And this is a PCP, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I mean, Stoker, the XM1, I mean, that's about 290 quid.
Which, when you look at how much is a tank full of fuel...
Exactly, yeah.
It's a couple of tanks worth of fuel.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and yeah, some people can turn around and say, I can't even afford to put fuel in the car. And I realise these times are very difficult times.
They are difficult.
Yeah, and I really, really appreciate it. But there are there are a lot of things out there. There is stuff out there that you can buy cheaply, and you can just get a bit of a break from the world, as crazy as it is. Get yourself in the back garden, get the kids out. They're going to get some fresh air, for goodness sake, rather than in front of all this lot.
Yeah.
And you're introducing them to what can then lead on to, I don't know, Olympic gold medalists.
Well,
and things like this.
yeah, exactly. You know, I've seen it time and again. You know, I've only got. No, you haven't just only got. You could be having more fun with that £100 Hatsan Springer than the guy with the £2,000-3,000 gun.
Yeah, and you get weightlifting at the same time.
Exactly. Right, Andy, moving on. I have one question and one request. Firstly, the question: hi Andy, why don't you review more of the FX line of rifles? Granted, for some they are out of their price range, but they are popular with most. I personally own 3. Request: I would love to see more challenges between Mr. and Mrs. AAR, and that's from Chris Walton.
Right, as far as challenges, well, I mean, she's better than me anyway, so I'll give her that one. She isn't, but anyway, let's try and keep the peace a little bit.
I'm Team Julie.
Yes, yeah, dead right. You're probably right. As far as the FX thing is concerned, to a certain extent, I purposely keep away from FXs because there's a lot of people out there doing FXs, and I get accused of all sorts of things, and I don't want to be accused of being on FX's payroll. There are a lot of people on FX's payroll shooting FXs all the time, and I'm not one of them. I don't want to be one of them. I'm not on anybody's payroll. And are the FXs good guns? Yeah, but I think they're being done to death on YouTube and other channels. Doesn't deter from them being good guns or not good guns. But I try and do the stuff that these other guys don't do. And there's not many of these guys review half of the things that I review. So you'll see some of them with the FXs. This week it's a review of the FX, whatever it is. This week it's a review of the FX shooting so-and-so. And then this week it's a review of the FX with a different scope on it.
Yeah, and a different power. And
you know, I would much rather say this week I've got a pirate flintlock.
Yeah.
And next week...
Have you got a pirate flintlock?
Yes, there's a pirate flintlock. And next week, there is going to be a Diana, cheap budget gun. The week after that, there's the AGT Vulcan 3 with the synthetic stock that's just come out. And the week after that is going to be the brand new gun from BSA. I would much rather be doing that than just fall into the same old, same old. So... you're not likely to see that, and the other thing you're not really likely to see a lot of, I'm afraid, is day state.
No. I've got to come back to what Andy said there. If you listen to what he said he reviews Storm Rider and then a BSA and then an Air Arms. I can't, and I do have to have my say, because we've had a little bit of it on Airgun Factory. Andy really does. When you speak to him and see everything in the background, he really does it for you guys, for the people. He's reviewing budget up to high end. So he's covering the whole spectrum. Now, I have to say, I don't understand the stupid comments that come through, and I really don't say, because I've got them. What you've got to do, you've got to sit back and see what Andy's doing now. And this is not me going, Andy, yeah, you're fabulous. I think Andy's fabulous. So does the team, Airgun Factory team, and so do a lot of you guys. But why we love Andy is because he is like doing it for us. He's not stuck up. He's not paid by anybody. Sorry, he's reviewing things from low price up to high price, and he's doing it for you guys. And I don't understand, but we'll always get it, as I say, because we have an Airgun Factory. You always get the stupid trolls come through and the hate. There is, if you could see this setup and see what trouble Andy goes to put these videos out to you guys, honestly, you'd be amazed. Sorry, Andy, I had to jump in there.
I mean, these are fairly broad.
Yeah,
and the skin's a bit rhino, so
but,
and if it wasn't, it becomes it after a while.
Yeah, I just don't agree with it. You know, you're doing it for all of us. We're trying to. That's what Airgun Factory are trying to do. We're, trying to do it with you and the other ambassadors, just to build a community, a safe, friendly, happy community, and shooting a community, and that's all we're trying to do. And
praise to you as well.
No, and thank you so much for having us here today as well, Andy. Thank you so much. Mike Brown says, my BSA R10 Mark II sub 12 in 2.2 cannot use BSA Blockstar pellets because they shoot at 13.56 pounds out of a barrel along with other brands. I avoid them. When the local firearms officer comes to my local shooting club to chronograph everyone's guns, how do we know what pellet he's going to test from the rifles over the chronograph?
That's a difficult one to answer because
it's a good question, difficult one.
Yeah, obviously I don't know. One of the biggest problems we've got in say the UK, England, Great Britain, whatever, is we don't have a central firearms office. They're regionalised. And as such, these regionalised firearms officers, even though they should all be singing off the same hymn sheet, don't necessarily. So they'll interpret it their way, they will bring out and do it in the manner that they feel is correct. And there's always an awful lot of opinion in the world, and if it becomes to be, it's the firearms officer's opinion whether you do this, this or this, I'm afraid their opinion sticks.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. That's it. They are the adversary of the law, if you like, and that's what you go with. You can't argue against it. The answer to his question is mostly when they come out to actually sample a gun on its power, they normally bring out a range of pellets, and they will fire a range of pellets through it. If he's having a particularly bad day, he might find the biggest, heaviest pellet he can, the one that he thinks is going to show your gun up.
Yeah.
Now, my response would be to try and counter it, is make sure you're firing a range. Now, if your gun is firing a range of pellets and it's still over 12 foot-pounds, you need to get it looked at.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And the other thing is the amount of times people turn around and say, I'm only getting 11.5 foot-pounds out my gun, so I'm not happy, it's rubbish. Hang on a minute, the reason you're getting 11.5 out is the manufacturer has tried to give you a safety zone.
Yeah.
So that if they do come out with these heavier pellets, you've got a bit of leeway, a little breathing space. So never complain that your gun isn't shooting 11.95. You're at risk.
You are at risk, yeah.
So
safety's about 11.3, 11.4.
It is, yeah. 10%, at least 10%. Now, 10% is 1.2. So if yours is shooting 10.8, you're actually within 10%.
Yeah.
So don't have a go at the manufacturer if it's shooting 10.8, 10.9. Ideally, we'd all like it to be 11, 11.5. But make sure your gun isn't over there. Isn't shooting 12 on a standard 8.44 if it's a 177, say. Because if they put a 13 in it, the chances are it's going to fire a bit over. Now, normally, and I could name some guns that the minute they come in, they're firing close to it anyway. So as soon as you put something heavier, they're very, very close.
Yeah.
Now, a bit of common sense has got to prevail, and that is if there's one pellet that throws it over but nothing else does, surely he's got to give you a bit of breathing space. If, however, out of a range of 5 pellets, 4 of them shoot hot, you need to get your gun sorted.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only thing that I would say.
And remember, guys, it's not all about power. It's about shot placement, especially when you're hunting.
It is
all about power.
Yeah. And if you're shooting a sub 12 foot-pound, it's falling for me. If you're shooting sub 12 foot-pounds and you're hunting, you're not going to do it at 70, 80, 90 metres.
No.
Be sensible.
Yeah.
And for years and years and years, I always did what I called the beer bottle top challenge.
Yeah.
Get your beer bottle tops out, get them at the range that you're likely to be shooting, and you need to hit 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
If you're not hitting 10 out of 10, don't take your quarry. If you're only shooting 7, don't shoot the quarry until you're shooting 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's the fairest you can be to whatever it is you're going to try and end its life effectively.
Exactly, yeah.
You've probably got a very good justifiable reason for doing it, but do it with a bit of care.
Now that's coming on to my next question, Andy.
Okay.
I feel, I don't know how you feel, no, in fact, I won't tell you how I feel. I'll just ask you straight out, do you think air guns should be licensed in the UK?
This is probably going to make me very unpopular. I don't necessarily think they should be licensed.
Like an FAC license?
Like an FAC.
Right.
And bear in mind, I've got an FAC for my personal FAC guns, and I also have an RFD, media RFD. There's only a handful, in fact, it's less than a handful of us in the country who've got them. So I can shoot pretty much any power in a safe zone that I deem is safe for journalistic purposes, if you like.
Right.
It's not doesn't mean I can have it in my cupboard and shoot it and have it for 12 months and everything else. No, I have it for the duration of the testing and everything else, and it goes back. But I have a license to do that. So I am licensed and licensed and licensed. But I do think there should be a register, a gun register. So you then are more responsible for that weapon. And let's call it a weapon in this instance. So you've been down to the shop, you've bought yourself a sub 12 foot-pound rifle, and you're going to go home with it. Now, I think as a matter of encouraging the right care and control of that, your name should be on a register with that serial number of that gun. So you're then responsible. Don't go lending it to your mates who are then going to go down and hold the local shops up.
Exactly.
Because your name is on that gun, on that register, and associated to that gun. So I think there should be. Because at the moment, all you've got to be is over 18, walk into a shop, walk out or whatever it is, go and do what you like with it. Now, hang on, we're a responsible sport. And as such, I think we should prove ourselves to be responsible and be quite happy to put your name on a register. And the thing is, the register would have to be, and I'm not going to be very popular with the shops, maintained and done by the shops for sight by the firearms officer if and when needed. So all the responsibility is being put onto a shop who's not going to get paid for it. But I still think it's the right thing to do, and it doesn't mean that, you're just giving your name to the man. Well, the man has got your name anyway. You know, you've only got to say Alexa, and she's sat listening to you, every word you're saying in the corner. Yeah. So they know everything about you anyway. But I do think it would encourage the right behaviours around guns. That's a hell of an answer for it. So no, I don't think it should be an FAC licence as such. I think that should be for the FACs. But for anybody just walking into a shop and buying it, I think it should be on a register, and then it gives you a certain amount of responsibility for that weapon.
That's what I think, but I'm not as erudite as you, Andy, so I think it will as well. Right, right, so we've got a good one here from Steve DeLine, and I think Steve is from Canada.
All right.
He's a real nice guy. He's on the group. Well, they're all nice guys, but Steve, he chats to me a lot. He's put, what inspired you to start AAR on air, and what do you see the future of the air gunning globally?
Oh, okay.
I didn't take the easy, Andy.
No, it's fine. It's fine, yeah, it's not a problem. My days are never easy. What started me?
Yeah.
Okay, it was very, very simple. It was the PX, is it the PX4, the pistol?
Oh, yeah.
I saw somebody do a review on it, and the safety on it, to get it from safe into fire, is quite stiff, and it'll actually even leave little indents in your thumb as you're doing it. It's that stiff. Right. And he complained bitterly that the safety was too stiff. And I thought, why would you ever complain that it's hard to get a gun into fire when you've got children in the house? So he did this review on it, and I thought, well, I'm going to do one of those. Put your money where your mouth is, Andrew. You know, you're full of opinion and everything else. So I did a review on this gun. And my comment was that I like the fact that it was stiff because it makes the gun safer around a family environment. And that was the first one I ever did. And you never saw my face, you never saw this ugly mush. All you saw was my hands and the gun, and it was usual, filmed over the top. From there on, it just grew arms and legs, and here we are 5 years down the line. And
5 years.
Yeah, 300 odd videos, never missed a week in every one of those, including illnesses and Christmases and holidays and everything else. So before I go on holiday, and when we go, we usually go for quite some time, I've been known to have to put 16 videos together before we go. So it's a lot.
How do you find the time?
Well, you don't sleep. Yeah, and then when Mrs. AAR does see me, she says, I seem to recognise you from somewhere.
I'm going to shout out Mrs. AAR because she is absolutely one of the loveliest people on the planet, and she's so lovely to deal with. So hi, Julie, and thank you so much for everything you've done.
Yeah. I couldn't possibly do half of this without her support, backup. We've said it before, breakfast consists of us sitting down with a coffee, with all the questions that have come in overnight, for her to try and then answer and put things together and respond to. And it's a little bit like, in fact, we even thought about doing it once, it's a little bit like the old Morecambe and Wise thing in bed at night, where the pair of them were sat there and they've got the papers or they've got whatever and they're having a conversation. We're doing that at night in bed, going through stuff again to make sure we've finished the stuff off on the day. It is a full-time job.
Yeah, Julie, yeah, I'll say I deal with her behind the scenes, and she's so lovely to deal with, Andy. No. You're a lucky man.
Yeah,
you're a lucky man.
Yeah, don't tell her that.
Right, I've got a question from Alan Mullock. First ever airgun, and do you still have it?
First ever airgun, 14 years of age. My dad bought it me. It was the Webley Junior pistol with the over action. And the answer is yes, I still have it. It needs a little bit of a repair job on it. So Karl's doing it down at Vector Air. I wouldn't trust anybody else with my stuff. And just an aside as well, it's the very first gun I shot my mother with. And how it happened was, and it was one of the funniest things, obviously it wasn't an overly powerful pistol, it isn't. I was shooting at the fence. It ricocheted off the fence, and she was putting the washing out at the time further up the garden, and it ricocheted and thwacked her on the backside. And these were the days of the 18-hour girdles. Right. Playtex 8. So she'd got armour plating on anyway, but it thwacked her on the backside, and it finished up with an ear bending for my dad for buying me the gun in the first place. But yeah, there you go. That's the full story behind my first gun, and yes, I've still got it.
Fabulous. There you go, Alan. Because I know Alan's asked that twice.
Sounds like a Scottish guy as well with a surname like that. Yeah, I don't know whether he is.
Yeah.
Mullock. Forgive me if you're not.
Who introduced you to airgunning?
That was my father.
At what age?
14.
And how long after that did you think for the first time, I need another gun?
Would say I was about 16, because I wanted a rifle then, because I used to go shooting with a friend of mine. He lived, and his dad was the manager of Eastwood Chickens at Rufford, and they kept all the chickens in there. They brought them on, they kept them in there for like 90 days till they grew up, then they cleared them out. Then we went in rat shooting. And we went into there, and I'd got a rifle. He got a 410. He got an ear bending off his dad because he was using a 410 that was blowing holes in the side walls of the sheds. But we used to, the dog used to get more than we did. Bess, black lab. She'd go in and she would get probably a good 15 in a day, and she'd just flick them up and break the backs, and we probably used to get half a dozen or so a day. And we'd then walk back to his house because it was very close to the sheds, and his mum would make us strip to our underpants at the door because we stunk of ammonia and everything that was in the chicken sheds, and then we had to go up and have a shower. So yeah, there you go, full answer. And that was a Webley and Scott break barrel rifle.
No, that was from Brian Young. There you go, Brian. Oh, here we go. Here's one for you, Andy. Right. Adam Huskins has just messaged, what's your go-to rifle?
Is the R10.
The R10. We knew it'd be the R10.
Yeah, R10.
I love my R10.
There's lots of other guns I really, really love, but the R10 is my go-to just because it's consistent, it's accurate, and yeah, I love it. I did actually change the stock on it. I've now got the black pepper thumb hole stock on it.
I remember you said you like the black pepper.
Yeah, so I got in touch with BSA, and I managed to get hold of a black pepper stock for the R10. I love it. Nice. So comfortable.
So you haven't got the R12 yet?
Not yet.
But Mrs. I think Julie's told me she's buying you one for Christmas.
That'd be good. Yes, you did hear that, didn't you, darling?
Sorry, Julie. Here's a good one, actually, and I'd like to know your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on the lead ban?
The lead ban? Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, Andy.
I've got to be very politically correct, I suppose, on this one. From my opinion, it's not air guns that are actually causing that much of a problem. We fire one pellet each time. A shotgun fires a multitude. Mm. So it's, and those boys are just scattergunning these things all over the place. At least when air guns are shooting, 9 times out of 10, there's either a backstop, there's a catcher, and for the odd time you're actually shooting into an animal, there's one. Yeah. Not a mass of them. I've just come back from Europe. I drove down to fetch a boat back from Italy, and I stayed at a castle in France, and they said, do you want smoked salmon for your evening meal? And I don't particularly like smoked salmon. It says, or we can, some pâté, some hare pâté. Oh, I like pâté. So, yes, I had pâté, and I was biting. I thought, what? Shot. There was still the shot in it. Yeah, I was spitting shot out of this pâté. It was beautiful pâté, but I got 2 lots out of a small piece of pâté. They're the guys who are causing the problem on lead, not ourselves, not air gunners. But when the political body gets involved, they just drag everybody into it. It's not necessarily fair, but it's the way of the world. Will it happen? I don't know. How many do-gooders and snowflakes are there out there and bunny huggers? It's down to them and political weight. Should it happen to us? No. Shotguns, possibly. And I've got a shotgun licence as well, and I shoot shotguns. And there's so much more shot comes out of one of those than we do.
Well, what will happen to the guys who have got, I know this is airguns, but a guy who's got shotguns and they're not rated for, am I right in thinking they're going to be rated for steel?
Well, shot? Yeah, because you're going to do so much more damage to the barrel than you are with lead. So there's always more to it, isn't there? There's always so much more to it. Yeah. I mean, it's like turning around and saying everybody's got to have an electric car. How are you going to tow a caravan with an electric car? Mm. You can't. You need a diesel, and you need a V6 diesel if you've got a decent-sized caravan. So they're not thinking all these things through. It's usually from the hip, a gut reaction, and that's,
Well, another great answer, Andy. Oh. Mark Kershaw said, what is the one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting out and looking for their first air rifle?
Start with a budget. Mm. And all too often, there's 2 types of shops out there. There's the ones that you tell them a budget and they try and do it twice as much. Yeah. So everybody's then reluctant to tell them what the budget is. Mm. But then there's the good shop out there that you tell them the budget and they make something to fit your budget. Yeah. Your budget is key. Buy what you can afford. Don't go overboard. We've already discussed this sort of thing before. Yeah. But do spend some money if you've got that money to spend. So if you've got 500 quid and that's what you want to spend, then make sure you spend the 500 quid. Don't just buy any old rubbish and it's expensive 500 quid. Do your homework. Go to a good gun shop. I mean, for me, 500 quid, and that's all you've got, and you want to start the whole thing, you go and buy a GX40 package. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Am I biased? Yes, because I know how good that gun is. Yeah. It's got BSA cold hammer forged barrels on a blooming Gammo, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's super accurate. They're marvellous guns. So if you got that, that's what I would have. If you want a PCP, if you've got 500 quid and you want a Springer, then get the best Springer you can for that 500 quid, because it saves you buying it twice, 3, 4 times. And don't forget, whatever you're buying, if you're going to want a scope on it as well. So don't spend 450 quid on the gun and 50 quid on the scope, because you'll regret it.
Right.
You need to spend 100, 200 quid on your scope and 350 quid on your gun, or whatever it is. It's the package that you're going to need. So if you're starting out, don't try. If all you can afford is 50 quid for a gun, then fair enough. That's all you can afford. Yeah. And try and find the best one you can, and you're probably better off buying it second hand. If you can afford 500 quid, then you're starting to get into the realms of buying something decent. If you're starting out and you're thinking of spending £3,000, I'd probably have a go with somebody else's gun first, just to make sure you like it. Yeah. Because £3,000 is a lot of anybody's money in my mind. Would I spend £3,000 on a gun? Yeah, I would. I wouldn't spend it every week on a gun, but if it was something I really wanted. I mean, one of the guys down at Vector Air, he desperately wanted a Vulcan 3. I can see why. He loves it. And he's actually taken a while, saved his money up, and that's what he's gone for. He's an experienced shooter, but he's got it, and he's like a puppy with 2 tails with it.
I will be when I get my Steyr Pro X.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I used one a few weeks ago. A friend of mine called Alan, and it was just ridiculously accurate, and it was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah,
just phenomenal.
I mean, sometimes these things, you swear blind, they've got laser guided pellets in them.
Yeah. Oh God, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that was going to bring me on to my next question, Andy. I think it's really unfair. Take the Virtus, for instance.
Yeah.
You have to pull the trigger and push it forward. You know, they took the return spring out. That was £500. But you can buy a Steyr Pro X for £2,500.
It's the difference between semi-automatic and self-indexing, isn't it?
But to me, it's well, if you can afford £2,500, you're not going to be running around shooting windows out or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of that's what comes across to me. It's a bit unfair. But then you've got the cane brake, which is, I mean, you've done a fabulous review on it. And that's only shooting what, 4 foot-pound less. Still do damage.
A lot of this was down to, again, manufacturers and their interpretation of the law. And bear in mind, they stand to lose an awful lot if the law falls against them. So they will err on the side of caution.
Right.
And it's whether or not it's a UK company or not. You're highly unlikely to find BSA, for example, and it's just, or Air Arms, I'm just trying to think of a UK company. You're highly unlikely to find them putting a semi-automatic or self-indexing gun out there, because it's a high-risk venture. But if you've got such as Airguns, when Russians were allowed to bring them in, and people are still trying to bring them in parts, please don't do it. You're breaking all kinds of rules and regulations and laws. Not into the UK. They are made in a different market, for a different market, in a different country. And what you're doing here is you're not twisting the rules, you're following the rules per the letter. And the letter says whether it's semi-automatic or self-indexing. If it stays in the magazine and it fires from the magazine, it's self-indexing. So you're okay. if more and more and more and more and more people do these things and keep buying these things, and then they get into the news headlines, they'll ban them.
Yeah.
They'll change the law. So keep a low profile with them. By all means, have them. But don't start shouting, because people are very quick to shout out, why haven't you done it? And why don't you do it? And I'm going to report you, and I'm going to say that you should, and I'm going to put it over all these forums and things. Sometimes you're better off just keeping quiet and either buy it or don't, accept it. The manufacturer's made a decision not to produce a semi-automatic gun or a self-indexing gun, and that's it. And it's just down to the choice. There isn't necessarily a carte blanche reason that goes across the whole board. People have got their own opinions, their own interpretation of the law, and a lot of companies, certainly UK-based ones, don't want to step too close to the mark. So hopefully that answers that question.
No, it does, Anna. That was actually great, Andy. That was great. It was just that I think Artemis had was it the M50?
Right.
And that would have been self-indexing. But because of the price of it, I never, never allowed it in.
I mean, Artemis, at the end of the day, it's all part of the Snow Peak group, if you like. And they're made abroad. And they make them for all kinds of markets. So if it comes into this country, then it's down to really the importer. Because the importer will quite often put his own name on it and make out that it's theirs. They're all part and parcel of the same one. They all come from the same factory. But he is, if he's not careful, he's accepting the responsibility because it's got his name on it. And sometimes they'll say, we're not prepared to bring one in. Even though it's in the range, they won't do it, or they will do it, and it's up to them to make that decision. And it's quite a tough decision because you don't know which way the law's going to go. And you don't know whether they're going to do it retrospectively. So if you've got an Airgun, gun, if you've got a Steyr, if you've got whatever it may be, and you're sat with this gun, they may turn around and say, nobody's having any more, or they may say, you better bring your gun and we're going to crush it. I don't know. I don't make the laws.
I remember I had the Brocock. I can't remember if it was a Predator or the Safari. It had a magazine and it was attack cartridges.
Yeah.
I had to give that back.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. Never had a mark. Never had a mark on the stock. It was lovely walnut stock.
No, and you just don't know which way the law's going to go if they change it.
And I had to give it back.
So, I mean, if you've got somebody such as a big UK company and suddenly they change all the laws, they're not going to look very popular, are they? If suddenly all the guns that they've sold to these people are all being crushed.
Yeah, exactly. Your favourite pistol, Andy?
Beretta 92.
Is it?
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah. No questions.
You don't like the Glock more?
I like the Glock. I think the Glock's really good. It's good fun as well, and it's very accurate to its build to the original. It's very accurate. It's not an accurate gun to shoot, but it's very accurate to the original build. But no, Beretta 92 FS every single time.
I've got the PPQ M2 as well.
I've got loads. I've got loads, but if you're asking me which, and I don't like the 1911, I never have.
No, I don't like the 1911.
Yeah. And yet, I used to love the John Wayne films and sit there on a Saturday watching them, and he'd got the 1911. But I don't know, I just don't care for the 1911. It's personal.
It's a Mel Gibson in us, isn't it? With the...
It probably is.
It's a Mel Gibson
It probably is. I never even thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Beretta 92, every single time.
Yeah. Is that the full metal? It is, isn't it? The full metal?
Yeah, full metal. I like all of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
And if you're going to ask me, and I don't own it, I own 3 black ones. But if you were going to ask me which one I really like, it's the chrome with the wood. Not the chrome, the nickel.
Yeah, and the nickel and wood.
On wood. I adore that, but I still don't have it. So, Mrs. AAR, that's birthday.
I'm sure you said you were buying him that for his birthday.
Absolutely.
What was the other fantastic question I had? See, guys have asked me questions to ask you, and I'm just rattling round my brain. Oh, now this is, if you can afford it, right, gun safe or no gun safe?
Gun safe every single time. I've got my sub-12s in the gun safe.
Me too, yeah. Me too. Gun safe every time.
Yeah. Gun safe every time. I've always been that way, and I've now got a wonderful grandson who is only coming up to 2, but gun safe every time.
I think that's it, Andy.
They're probably bored to death now.
I think that's it. I can honestly say, guys, if you could see all the effort that goes into this, you would be blown away. And how passionate Andy is about airgunning. I arrived this morning, it's virtually all we talked about, because I love it as well. But, you know, as I said earlier, these stupid comments that come through, think before you post, guys. Andy has got all, you know, our interests at heart. You can see he lives and breathes air guns. I was speaking to Julie, she's got some presents lined up for him. Julie, you're going to kill me.
She doesn't know that yet.
You're going to kill me.
Yeah.
But no, Andy, thank you so much from everybody at AGF.
No problem at
We
all.
all
Thank
love
you
you.
very much
Thank
for what you do.
so much for bringing me to AAR HQ.
Yeah, such as it is.
And thank you for supporting us.
No, you do a cracking job, and don't ever anybody out there, don't ever think that it's the easiest thing in the world to run any sort of channel and bat off comments, and it's very, very difficult to run a Facebook forum or whatever forum and manage the odd numbskull who is going to then break all the rules and thinks he can. Well, why can't I? Well, it's not you guys that make up the rules. Excuse me. It's not you guys that make up the rules. It's whoever runs at Facebook and everything else, and the rules are there for everybody. So please just stick to them. Otherwise, people have got to keep policing these things, and that is a full-time job to police them. I know from the comments that I get and people scamming the channel and trying to put text numbers out there that you text because they're telling everybody I'm giving prizes away. So straight away they're in there and they've been scammed, and goodness knows what's happening to them. I try every single day to get these out of the way, but it's one of the hardest things you can possibly do. So certainly give these guys an easier life. For goodness sake, give them an easier life. It's not an easy thing to do, and it doesn't need somebody such as you, whoever you may be out there. Well, I'm going to say what I want. Well,
and remember, guys, Andy's group,
it got shut down because of people like that.
Shut down because of people like that.
Yeah.
So on the group, when we're saying no kill shots, no swearing, you know, no selling or asking to buy, it's serious. We'll just get shut down, and then we got nothing, and then we got nothing.
Yeah, and then and what it is, it's literally is the 1% who are doing this. Because I look at the channel itself, the YouTube channel, and I usually finish up around about 99% thumbs up, which is unheard of for a YouTube channel. I get 1% who are giving the thumbs down, and it's that 1% that do all the damage. So if you see these people doing it, just attack them, have a go at them.
Yeah, just call them out. Just call them out and protect the groups, protect the YouTube.
Yeah.
I have to say, Andy, 200,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
That is massive. Well done, a massive well done.
Thank you very much.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And as we're saying, guys, you've got to protect the likes of Andy. You've got to protect the groups. These bad eggs, you've got to call them out, you know, and because they're just going to ruin it for everyone. Why can't we just all have a group, all have the YouTubes, and just enjoy it as one big community?
Yeah, and if they don't like what's happening there, don't stay there.
Let's
If you
move on.
if you don't like what I'm doing in a video, don't watch it. There's an on button and an off button. By all means, go somewhere else and watch it somewhere else. Nobody is capable of policing all of the people all of the time. No. I'll try, but if you're one of those who's not pleased by it, then really sorry. It's not for you, evidently. Go somewhere else. If you want to see kill shots, if you want to see somebody swearing all the time, go and find another channel.
Go and find another channel,
If you want something that's a bit light-hearted, we talk guns, we play around with guns, and we have fun with guns, and we don't swear, and we don't show kill shots, and we don't do unboxing videos either, then by all means stop here. That's what you'll get. And if you don't want that, somewhere else.
And of course, we want the youth to bring the youth up through. That's why we don't have swearing on the group and kill shots, and because it's not all about hunting. It's about target. It's about plinking. Yeah. There's a whole myriad of stuff you can do.
You hunt, I hunt.
Yeah.
But not the whole world needs to see what we're doing. Not I don't even record anything that I hunt. Exactly. I'm not interested in it. It's done. It's a shame that it's had to take something's life, but hey, I've either got to eat or I've got to stop it digging everything up, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Yeah. Thank you so much to Andy again for a brilliant day. I mean, it's fabulous here. As I said, if you could see everything that goes on, it's mind-blowing.
And no, don't ask. You're not all coming.
We have a party. So don't forget, guys, subscribe if you haven't to AAR. Brilliant. On Airgun Factory, we will support AAR as they have us, and we will continue to support AAR in every endeavour. So don't forget to subscribe to Andy and AAR. And subscribe to our YouTube channel, Airgun Factory YouTube channel. I don't know, what do you say, Andy? Does it like, subscribe, and hit that alarm bell, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Hit that alarm bell.
Share, hit the alarm bell. And, of course, above all, stay safe.
And shoot safe. As we say AGF as well, which was coined by Stephen Sawyer. I'll give him a shout out. Stay safe and shoot straight.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Thank you
very
so
much for your time.
And thank you to Andy again.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.